Now, the Restaurant Association of South Africa, RASA, has again appealed to government to allow the sector to operate, saying that millions of employees' incomes are being negatively affected. And under lockdown regulation level 3, restaurant kitchens can continue to operate, but only for food collection or delivery. Now, RASA is making a submission to government to allow restaurants to seat and serve customers under lockdown level 3. The Chief Executive Officer of the Restaurant Association of South Africa, Wendy Alberts, joins us now. Wendy, thanks so much for your time. Welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning. Welcome.
So, as the Restaurant Association, you're saying that you want to request full operation under lockdown level 3. But please tell us about your request and why you believe that this should be allowed.
We engaged with the department to understand the same parameters that were given to the church service and the applications that were made to ensure that all the health risks were mitigated to allow them to safely trade. We wanted the same application to be passed on to restaurants. So we certainly put a letter of submission through to the department. They've been absolutely excellent. They've expedited a meeting. We had a wonderful meeting with a number of our industry leaders, experts. We consulted with many of our top restaurateurs as well as other restaurateurs. We consulted with our experts on health and safety. We had international consultants that had some time to explain the processes of safe eating. And I think that the meeting that we concluded with the minister last night in the minister's office and her representatives was certainly fruitful. We will certainly be giving a document which clearly explains that the readiness of the industry to reopen for sit-down. And that document will be forwarded to the necessary department within Cabinet, and consideration will be given, and we will await, hopefully, a favourable answer on that.
So, obviously, the safety considerations would be key. So, please tell us about how you are, as an association, going to ensure that your members can actually guarantee the safety of not just customers, but of staff at these restaurants.
Absolutely. Health and hygiene is the highest priority for all restaurants. We've been practicing good housekeeping for years, and we've been well known for being world leaders in this pandemic and putting systems and standards in place that really do protect the staff and protect the customer. I think through every level of opening, we've displayed the highest degree of commitment to government to show that we are very capable. We've gone outside of our realm of responsibilities, and we've also taken care of the third-party delivery guys. We've ensured that they've been properly trained, that they've had sanitization. We've given some of them masks. We've given them PPE. And I think the consistent commitment to ensuring everybody's safe in the environment that we operate from is very evident. We've been doing it for a very, very long time. And the readiness program that we've had since pre-lockdown will be capitalized on and will include further aspects which enhance food safety, cleaning, sanitizing, employee health monitoring, personal hygiene and social distancing. All of this which we've gathered from our current experts in South Africa. We properly consulted with the health, hygiene standards, COVID-19 and industry representation to correctly be able to put out the documentation that will belong to the industry. So we certainly are very happy to invite anybody who's in the industry who's not part of us or are not members of the association to please give their input, that we can put one document to government that they understand what the requirements are in terms of health, hygiene, and that completes the readiness promotion that we're putting through to government to say that we are in a very safe space to open.
Now, Wendy, RASA had previously charged that you didn't receive the same level of consultation that perhaps other industry players had received, but you say you did meet with the minister last night. So talk to us about that consultation and just the extent to which you have been consulted thus far.
So far as our minister goes, we report into the National Department of Tourism. The relationship is very fruitful. We've had a favourable relationship long before COVID and at the onset of COVID. And we appreciate their continued and consistent approach in always consulting with us and being available for us to discuss certain pertinent issues and getting clear clarity on certain communications and directives that have been put there. So that relationship needs to continue long through COVID and long after COVID. We're an important contributor to tourism, and we are contributed to the economy. And we will continue to develop the relationship that we have with the Minister's Department and the Minister. And I think, having said this, I appreciate the open door policy that we have to be able to bring this forward to our sector and to bring it through to our department and our Minister for us to be able to make decisions moving forward on how we will handle this with COGTA, where the decisions are actually made. And I think this is important to understand the nature and purpose of the meeting, to have ascertained the directive that was given to an alternative industry and the same application to be applied to restaurants. So we will go through the formal process, and we're very respectful of the leadership, we're respectful of the rules, and we're respectful of the laws that have been passed. But we also need to protect the integrity of the industry and the sustainability of the industry. As you well know, we've been hit the hardest, and our restaurants are simply crippled. You know, we are not takeaway and drive-through businesses. You know, there are certain brands that are experts at this, but every single one of our restaurants have had to transform their businesses and move into a business that they are not skilled at. And it comes with a certain expense. We're about bums on seats, and we're about moving tables, and we're about bringing feet through the door, and we're about liquor sales to food sales. And this is a complex component of what our business model is based on. So, you know, we appreciate the time for the engagement with government to be able to enlighten and educate them on the financial model of restaurants, as well as the exact position of where we're at this point in time, and how drastic the industry is and what dire straits we are in terms of financial disabling of what we've got to potentially losing a large portion of the restaurants that we are currently have in existence. You know, we've highlighted to the department the importance of restaurants' contribution to tourism and how important it is to take care of these restaurants. And we certainly went through a long list of challenges that the restaurants have faced since onset. You know, if we look at it, it's been landlords, it's been insurance companies, it's been UIF, it's been TERS. You know, we've had no access to funding opportunities. We've had to seek private funding. We've had to support our own staff. We've got the high water and electricity bills that were done on estimates that we need to pay. There's the SAMPRA, the liquor license, the non-renewals of the liquor license. And the challenges consistently face the industry just get more and more every day. And we need to get back to the businesses that we do and the businesses that we know. We can no longer afford to transform our businesses and try and survive on margins. That is not what is intrinsic of what restaurants are about. You know, if we look at the space that we operated in the last couple of weeks, you know, we're looking at potentially a 20% of 100% budget, of which third-party deliveries took 42%. Our cost of sales is 40%, and we're left with 18% to try and pay salaries, try and keep the business afloat, try and pay parts on other expenses, rentals, etc. And there simply is financial suicide. We cannot continue on these margins, and we cannot continue to get ourselves into more debt. And restaurants are simply now taking the decision to liquidate, to retrench staff, to close their businesses. And we need to have different conversations. And that's why I appreciate the ability to have engaged with government to say, look, we're at a critical stage within the restaurant industry, and we certainly need to be able to give the restaurants an opportunity to trade out of this difficult time and to be able to take the dramatic debt that we're in and start paying it back and getting our people back to work. We're sitting with 80% of our workforce unemployed, and there is absolutely no relief and funding for the beautiful people that work in our restaurants. You know, they're casual workers. They haven't had a salary, or they're reliant on tips, and they haven't had an opportunity to earn tips in 10 weeks.
So speaking to that, Wendy, you are on record as saying that so far 800,000 people have been left unemployed due to the lockdown. Is that figure still correct? Because speculation is that this could rise to about 2 million people. And also, what are the contingency plans in place to try and save jobs as far as possible?
These are conversations we continuously have, and we engage with various players in the industry to try and understand what is the total number of employment that the industry contributes. I think that there's a huge commitment now to understanding to collect this data, and the acknowledgement that restaurants are certainly the largest contributor of employment in the sector. So I think it's very important going forward that we need to document the data to correctly understand. And you're absolutely right when you say, what is a contingency plan on how do we save the skills? How do we keep people employed in the industry? What is the future plan for the people that work in our beautiful restaurants? We certainly cannot bring anybody back to work just on the model of takeaway and delivery. And once we obviously move on to sit down, we can bring a large portion of our staff back. And there's also the opportunity to rotate them in teams, which means that we hold on to the skill set on a far wider reach. But at this point in time, we're not holding on to any of our staff and they're sitting at home unemployed. And this is critical to our industry, and it's critical that we get back to trading in a normal environment, that we have the opportunity to do what restaurants do best, and that's make beautiful food, bring experiences. We're experiential places. We're all about food. There are certain business models that simply cannot even tap into the takeaway or delivery market because the break in the food chain would compromise brand integrity. And what we also know in conclusion is that the consumer is excited for the restaurant industry to open. You know, we are definitely a huge part of their lives. We're a huge part of the everyday life of the consumer, and they have indicated huge support in the restaurant industry reopening for sit down.
Following that meeting with the minister last night, Wendy, are you confident that you would be allowed, under strict regulations, of course, to operate under lockdown level 3?
The department has displayed huge commitment to doing what they can to advocate our submission. So we need to prepare the standard operating procedures and guidelines that we'll be submitting by tomorrow lunchtime. And we've got the necessary partners and experts in the industry that are working day and night now through this. So we appreciate the team, and we appreciate the task team that's been put at hand and appointed to do the necessary work that gets done. And the submission will be made in the next day or so through to that. And we're hoping that the outcome of that will be favourable. And if it's not favourable, we'll obviously have to take the next steps and consult with our members as to what they feel the industry needs to do or the Restaurant Association needs to do for its members in order to advocate for us to open at the next level. But there's certainly absolutely no reason that the industry is deemed as a high-risk area. In fact, all evidence worldwide shows that restaurants are low-risk areas and that the basic health and hygiene standards can indicate that you can safely eat in an establishment.
So just a final question. If you were denied the right to operate under lockdown level 3, will you be taking any further action to try and compel government to allow you to operate?
What we've definitely appealed to government is to give us a reasonable explanation on the framework that was used to analyse the risk that they've done to allow the religious sectors to open. So we will await on that from the COCTA team to be able to give us that framework and the analysis on that. So we are still requesting that. And I think that's imperative for us to understand how they assessed that area and gave that area or that industry the opportunity to open. And we need to then integrate that same framework and the risk mitigation that they did to open that industry and apply to restaurants to see where the shortfalls are. And based on that, we need to then take decisions on how we move forward to get us open. You know, we are here, we're respectful of government, we're respectful of the leadership. We appreciate the President's concern with our industry and the frailty of where we're at. But I think it's also imperative that we are given the opportunity to equally apply the same principles as other sectors and display a sense of commitment to being able to develop and put systems in place that will keep us and keep our industry safe and keep our consumer and our staff safe. And I think we've shown and displayed that throughout COVID and even prior to COVID. So the formulation of that risk is very important to us in being able to put our submission forward.
Well, thank you so much. That was Restaurant Association of South Africa CEO Wendy Alberts discussing their submission to government to allow restaurants to fully operate while using health and safety protocol under lockdown level 3. All right, that brings us up to news time with Leanne at 7. Good morning.